Hi, this is Dan Morgan from Beyond 20, and today we're going to take a look at scope in Cherwell Service Management. We are often asked, what is a scope in the client tool or even in the admin tool? And what scope is normally folder structure. So if we think about one-steps, searches, dashboards, visualizations, calendars, we can put items in those folders and allow users to have access to those based on who they are. So if we go up here in the client tool to One-Step Manager, you'll see I've got a set of folders on the left. I've got Global Team Role User, and actually I've got a new one here in the later versions called Pinboard, and that's kind of where I can aggregate different things that I want to use often into my pinboard. And pinboards can be not only for me, but I can have a group pinboard as well. Now there's a few folders we don't see here currently, one of which is called Blueprint. Another one is System, and another one is Site. And those three are normally only seen when we go into the admin tool. So let me jump to the admin tool for a second here. I have a blueprint open currently, and if I go to Managers, One-Step Manager, you'll see I've got at least one more folder here, and that's the blueprint folder. So I can only get access to that when I'm actually in creating a blueprint. If I was in the Site Manager, let me close my blueprint and go to my browser and mobile, go to Site Manager, and I want to edit, say, my default site here. If I go to Menu and I want to pick something from a list like a one-step action, you'll see now I have site-based folder. So it's only when I'm in modifying the browser and mobile portion or the portal portion do I see that new site folder. So let me back up here and go back to my client tool and just talk about what I might want to put in these different folders. So the user folder, the audience there is a specific user or a specific customer. Now I'm logged into the client tool right now as CSD admin, so that is my user folder. So if I put something in there, only I am going to see it, or if I'm the admin, I could always go to View for all users, and then I would see the all users folder. But if I'm just a regular user who doesn't have admin privileges, I'm not going to see that all users folder. I'm only going to see mine. Now normally with security, we'll allow people to do things in their user folder, and that's about it, meaning they can add, they can edit, maybe they can delete things from their user folder. But if it was role-based or team-based or something in the global folder, I'm not going to let them modify those, because those could be used by many different people, especially the global folder. If I was to modify a dashboard or a one-step that's in the global, that may mess things up for quite a few things in the system. So we normally let them read or run those things in those folders, but not edit, add, or delete. Another role folder. What is that? Well, the audience there is usually a member assigned to a specific role. So as you know, when you log into Cherwell, I get presented with a role selector. And when I pick a role, that determines what my environment is when I come into the system, and I could see things in that role. So right now I am logged in with the IT Service Desk Manager role. So if we had specific one-steps that we wanted only that role to see, we could put those in that folder. The Teams folder. The audience there is every user on a team or customers in a work group if we're exposing some of these things out to the portal. So if I'm on one or more teams, I would see those teams with a plus sign right here, and I could click on that and I would see all the teams that I belong to, and I could see in this case any one steps that we wanted to target just to that specific team and only let those team members see them. So maybe you've got a CMDB team or an asset team, and they need to see things like reboot a PC or ping or run PowerShell scripts or call SolarWinds, whereas the software team may not need to see those, or the facilities team may not need to see those. So we could target specific things for teams to do by putting those one steps in just their team folder. And then I talked about the global folder already. So those are items that anybody can see, anybody can run. So if I didn't want the whole system or the whole audience of Cherwell to see those things, I'd want to move those out of global and put them in a specific targeted folder for them. Now I also mentioned that there was a blueprint folder, which we saw when we were in a blueprint. So the audience there again is any user who can log into Cherwell and run those things. Although they wouldn't actually be going to a folder and double clicking to run something, we most likely would use those in a business process or perhaps behind a button So if you think of that email hyperlink, when I pick a requester in Cherwell and they click on that hyperlink, that's actually a global one-step that's attached to that particular hyperlink. So they don't actually go to a folder, like I said, and run it, but it's used by them. It's in the global, it's accessible to everyone. And then we also saw the site folder, and that audience usually is a portal customer because the sites are built for the portal. So if I put something in a particular site folder, I could make that available only to a specific site. If you've got only one site, then of course you'd put all the things in that one site folder. But if you had a targeted site for facilities, HR, IT, other different groups, you could split those things out that you want them to see based on that site folder. Now, where does the security come into play here? Well, if I go back into my admin tool and go to security and then go to a security group, if I target something like the IT Service Desk Level 1 and then go to my rights, you'll see here if I hit the drop down and I go to look at something like one steps where we've been lurking for a few minutes here, here's where I can set permissions on what they can do there. So I mentioned the global folder, we let them run. We don't let them add to that, edit it, or delete it. Same with site, they can only run. Team-based, user-based, I can do pretty much anything I want in this system. I can run the ones that I've put in there or anybody has dropped there for me like the admin. I can add to that folder, I can edit them, I can delete them, I can run ones put in by other users. In my case, I can add to other users, but I wouldn't be able to see those folders. Only admin can see all user folders. Edit from other users, delete from other users. So I've got a lot of permissions to my user folder, but again, very little permissions to these other folders because if I modified those things, I would be impacting other users. And you'll see this scope in a lot of places in Cherwell. I showed you just the one steps, but again, if I go to searching Search Manager, I see my scope. If I go to Dashboards, the Dashboard Manager, I see the scope. Widget Manager, Visualization Manager, Report Manager, Knowledge Manager. So there's a lot of places where you're going to see that scope. So it does control visibility. It's not really security like you would think of for a security group, but it is visibility to certain items that I only want targeted groups to be able to see and or run. So that's a quick explanation of what scope is within Cherwell Service Management. If you'd like this video and would like to subscribe to our other ones, you can go to youtube.com/beyond20LLC.